Meeting. Let me get my phone set up here. All right. Okay, as always, we start off with a prayer. Oh, thank you, Claude. And the prayer is going to be my uncle-in-law, Mr. Harold Hembry. He's a spry 93 years old, and he's cruising, I'll tell you. It's amazing. I hope I'm in that good a shape when I'm 83. Anyway, Harold, if I could get you to do our prayer for us, I'd appreciate it. Let's stand.
Mindful, our Father, of your love and goodness, your abiding presence in our lives of every day. We pause to give thanks for this day and its attendant blessings. We thank you for the life of each one here this day, and we ask your blessings upon. Lead us, we pray, as we seek to live, that we might be led to live in accord with your will. Guide us in our thinking today. Bless us in our association. Enrich our thinking and forgive our sins. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Harold. Rob, since you're a veteran, could I get you to lead us in the pledge?
Yeah, sure thing.
Please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's see. I've got a few introductions. Rob, of course, is on the city council here in Ponca City. There he is. Good timing. And now I don't have to explain to him that you're on your way. This is our guest speaker today. Let's see. Also, Reed Downey over here. Reed he is School Boards for Kids, and he's got cards. If you'd like to be on his email list, if you'll fill one out, he sends out really informative and entertaining emails on a regular basis. School Boards for Kids is in the front line fighting the battle for our kids in the schools. Let's see. And Alan, there he is. Alan Jewell, he's our coordinator up in Medford and Alfalfa County. Grant and Alfalfa counties. His meetings are the third Thursday at the Methodist Church up there. If you have any friends or family up there, spread the word. He has great meetings up there. He's one of our old timers. He's been here. Is it coming up on 3 years now? Yeah, he's one of our old timers. We really appreciate it. He's a hard-working guy. Okay, let's see. Our speaker today is Mr. Sean Cummings, and I got the impression last month he's not as bad a guy as I heard he was. He was here last month at the meeting, and I want to be real honest, I fully expected him to show up here to disrupt my meeting, and he did not, and I appreciate that. He's our guest here today, and we're going to, everything's going to be polite. There's been way too much emotions involved in discussions about the subjects we disagree with the left on, and a lot of those. And we're not going to have any disruptions this month. We're going to keep everything on a polite, professional basis. Sean is going to be taking questions after he speaks, and I have a feeling we might be a little bit surprised about some of his viewpoints. Did you do the deal at the Capitol this morning?
I literally left there to come here.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
They were running 30 minutes behind.
We don't run behind. My meetings are on time. I had some people question and accuse me of implying that I was lying about you being here because you were going to be. And I said, well, he's got time to do that and get up here. And I assumed that's what you were going to do. And sure enough, that's what you did. I appreciate it. Anyway, we're going to keep our language clean. We're in a church, right? And please, like I said, let's keep emotions out of us. We're here to have a discussion. Folks, it is good for people that disagree to exchange ideas.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point for this. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sean. And
Thank you very much.
oh, sure. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Terry. Yes. Oh,
What do you need to do?
no.
Go ahead.
Golly. I didn't put you on the list. I'm sorry. Yeah. Excuse me. I told him I'd give him a couple minutes. Yeah, come on up, Josh. I'm sorry. This is Josh Reel. It's not the first time I've done that.
No, it's not.
This is Josh Reel, U.S. Law Shield. I highly, highly recommend them. I've been a member for 3-4 years now, and I've gotten more than what I've spent for my membership in legal advice from the top firearms attorney in the state. And so he's going to take a couple of minutes to talk about what he's got, and he'll be at the back booth if anybody's interested in signing up. It's a great deal. I highly recommend it. We've got, who in here are members? Okay, well, you got about 50%?
That works.
Yeah. Okay, it's all yours, buddy.
All right, guys. First of all, I'm glad to be back out here. I am now the only rep in Oklahoma for U.S. Law Shield, so getting all the meetings is rough. So I try to get out here as much as I can. Man, there's a lot of ugly, familiar faces out here tonight, or today. But we've changed a lot of stuff. Law Shield's coming out with a lot of stuff, a lot of new stuff. We've changed a lot as well, including the OK2A benefits. And so if you have not signed up recently or haven't heard about the different stuff recently, everything now is on the app. You download the app on the phone. You sign up there. If you're not a member, you can sign up that way. Use the OK2A promo code. Just put in OK2A as the promo code. It waives your first month, your setup fee. That way, you don't have to just take my word on it. You can research it. Okay? You dive in there, and then at the touch of a button, instead of having to call us or whatever the case may be, in the case of an emergency, you pop open the app, hit a button, it goes straight to the attorney, and he's going to get to you. It's very, very simple, very, very easy. Everybody remembers, I just briefly want to cover it so I don't have much time, but everybody remembers 911 call, 4 steps. All the current members should know this already. 4 statements that you want to make if you call 911 in case of emergency. What are they? Name, location, I have been the victim of a violent crime, I need police, I need ambulance. And then do what? Hang up the phone, okay? We've had multiple instances here lately where, and this is not just Oklahoma, but this is across the U.S., where law-abiding citizens, they don't want people to think they did anything wrong, right? So they're immediately, I didn't do anything, and they start trying to talk to the officers, explain to the officers what happened. This isn't the time, okay? The officers on the scene aren't the ones deciding whether or not you're guilty. They're not the ones deciding whether or not you're going to have charges put against you. Who is the only person that can put charges against you or decide? The DA, okay? The DA is the only one that's going to do that. Is that going to happen at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning? No, okay? The first time that you give a statement is to your attorney face to face. And if you have Law Shield, then you call the emergency hotline. Robert Robles, who's our lead attorney, is going to be by your side, usually within 2 hours, okay? Within 2 hours, he's going to be next to you, and he's going to be the one helping you. Now, this isn't the time to wait. Things are getting stupid. Things are getting crazy. It's been nuts, okay? We have seen a massive uptick on claims. Just in the past 3 months, we've had over 2,700 calls to the emergency hotline. Okay? Between carjackings, people breaking into houses, incident road rage has been sky high. But this isn't the time to wait. If you are not a member, if you want help downloading the app and walking you through that, I can do that. I'm going to be here probably for the next 45 minutes or so, and then I got to bolt out to Tulsa and do a class up there. But I'm going to stick around for just a little bit. If you are not a member, come see me. I can walk you through it and get everything done. If you don't want to deal with it and you want me to handle it, I can do that too. Okay? Just give me your information and I can get you signed up for you. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I try to do what I can, but it's a lot of meetings. Not much time.
I have a question.
So, yes, ma'am.
So how much is it to sign up?
$10.95 a month.
Oh,
Okay.
And what exactly is this?
So this is covering any kind, this is legal protection for any self-defense. Somebody comes to attack you or break into your house, and you end up having to drop that intruder, there's gonna be some legal ramifications. Whether you were right or wrong, there's gonna be things happen, okay? You're gonna be detained, you're gonna be taken into the jail. You're possibly gonna get booked into the jail, okay? That's where we're gonna come in. You call the emergency hotline, the attorney's gonna get to you, and he's gonna handle it from there. We literally take it out of your hands, we deal with it all, and it's at no cost to you other than the membership fee. No attorney's fees, no court costs, nothing, we handle it all.
So it really doesn't have anything specifically to do with your OK2A. It's actually illegal.
OK2A is on board with US Law Shield.
We're partners with OK2A.
Yes.
Okay,
And
but
they've
it's not
done,
political though. It's just,
Oh, no, so
no, it's
we're not political in the aspect that we'll cover anybody,
Okay.
okay?
no limits.
No limits. I don't care who you are, what you're, I don't care if you're a felon. If you are defending yourself illegally doing so, we'll take care of you.
How many cases have you handled?
Oh, just Oklahoma, since 2009, we've done over 800 cases we've never lost.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's-
and this is including plea deals, anything like that, nothing. So we make sure we know what we're doing, but it helps. Our ace in the hole is Robert Robles. He helped write Title 21. He helped write the Self-Defense Act. He helped write Stand Your Ground, Castle Doctrine, Constitutional Carry. He helped write them all. So it's very hard for any judge or any attorney to fight the guy that literally wrote the law, right? So, anything else for me? All right, I'm gonna stick around to the back for a little
Thank
bit.
you, Josh. And Riley, stand up for a minute. We just had another, this is Riley Flack from Stillwater. Many of you have probably seen his video. He's been on Jesse Walters, and he's been featured on Blaze TV. He's getting Stillwater schools straightened out on their policies of boys and girls restrooms and so forth. And who's this with you, Riley?
This is Avery.
Avery. Hi, Avery. Is she the boss?
No.
Good man. There you go. All right, Sean, finally, you're up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And folks, thank you all very much for having me. I mean, I came last month. I actually just had questions for the school guy. And Roger was like, "You don't have anything for us here?" And I go, "No, I'm good with you guys completely." And he goes, "Well, I didn't expect that." So I am not the person you usually expect when you think of a leftist, radical, Marxist, whatever else I've been called. But on the left, they call me a Trumper. My own people. So I'm not here to argue politics with anybody today. I got started in activism, for lack of a better word, at the Oklahoma County Jail. Literally, worst jail in America. And really, it was just because I happened to be in a meeting over First Amendment rights, and I heard a guy, like, not stealing, but stealing some vans from one department to another. And I've been a business owner for 40 years, and as soon as it happened, I was like, did that guy really just try to steal 4 vans? Which, you know, it doesn't sound like a big deal. That's $250,000 from one department to another. And so I was interested. So I just kind of kept showing up. Now, the county jail, if you don't know anything about it, in Oklahoma City, it was built poorly. The guy that was an architect there signed off on some cement as if he were an engineer, and he was not. And so the whole place has been falling apart from day one. Terrible catastrophe. The biggest problem is, though, they paid for the jail with a penny sales tax, but no money to run it. So when you don't have any money to run it, you just got to keep putting bodies in there like a motel. And I'm a businessman. I understand each person in there, $45 a day is what they got. So in order to be able to pay their bills, instead of 1,200 people like it was supposed to hold, they got it up to 2,700, and then they bring it down to 23 and back up to 27. Well, so of course it's filthy. There's no way to clean it. There's no time to clean it. You can't shut down a floor and take care of anything. No hospital is built there, anything like that. Just logical stuff where you would look at it and go, how did this happen? So all of this stuff goes, and we end up with Sheriff John Wetzel, who I like. I don't have anything against him, but he had 4 people die there one year. And so everyone decided, oh my goodness, we got to get other people in charge. So they did. They started a jail trust. It was supposed to go to a vote of the people, but it didn't. They were hand-picked political has-beens, lawyers, and a couple of really wealthy family members that didn't know anything about jails. The only person on the trust that knew about a jail was the sheriff. And he was the one they stole the jail from, so he wasn't helping anybody. So that means there's no one who knows how to run a business, run a hotel, run transportation, getting people back and forth. Nobody that knew how to serve 6,000 meals a day. Nobody knew how to clean a commercial facility. None of that stuff. So they just start dropping down real quick. They take it over. They don't know what they're doing, and they're trying to catch up. But the biggest thing, and this may interest you all, 0 CLEAT certified employees. 0. In a maximum security jail. 0. I'm not an anti-2A guy, so we need to probably cover that right now. If you're running a jail, you need people in there that can do force when force is necessary. But what we also want to remember is 80% of the people in that jail are not convicted of a crime yet. I'm not saying they're innocent, but they're waiting there to go to trial. So do we treat them like rats in a box? Or do we treat them decent because we really, in our country, took them? We've yet to give them due process. Excessive bail is against the Constitution as well. So they're in poverty jail. And we're treating them like rats in a box. The food was awful, trays were moldy and everything else. We'll get to the kitchen stuff here in a minute. So they finally have a blow up. Some guy, some way or another, got methamphetamines. He's high on methamphetamines, takes a guard hostage and has a knife to his neck, poked him a few times. They didn't have anybody that could take care of it. They had to call the Oklahoma County Tactical Force to come in and shoot the guy. Literally, nobody in the jail. So when you hear I'm an activist, are those things you would be active about? Are those things you would be insulted about that are happening with your tax dollars?
Yes.
Are those things morally we have something we have to do to step in and go, we cannot treat human beings this way? Look, if they've been convicted of a crime, need to be like Motel 6. You got to have a room, a bed, toilet, some water. I'm not looking for the Hyatt. That's for people convicted. If you haven't been convicted, we got to provide you the same medical you had on the outside. David Prater, the district attorney, was like, look, we took them. They are our custody. And that means you are now their parents. You got to treat them like you would your children. So, am I vicious? Yes. Do I get things done? Yes. Do I get rid of the bad people? Yes. If I'm on your side on stuff, that's the guy you want. I take no fluff from anybody. And when I get into a fight, I'm there to fight. I'm not there to be friends. I'm there to fight. So you go, well, so is that a Marxist activist or is that just an activist that's concerned about other human beings? I'm a business owner for 40 years. I'm not a Marxist. I'm paying payroll for 30 years. I can write checks. I've never bounced a payroll check in my life, ever. My goal was to get them to get decent people on the jail trust that knew what they were doing, executives that knew how to run those things. So that brings us to now. But I have a terrible reputation against people I fight against because I beat them. I mean, you ever heard anybody get beat up in a fight talks good about the person who beat them up? No, not really. Okay, so now let's move on to education at this point because that's what I was coming up for last month. And Roger was nice as heck to me the whole time, even though he thought I might come up and cause a hug.
Terry.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. I called Roger twice.
I've been called a lot worse.
I'm sorry, buddy. I apologize, Terry.
No.
And he was wonderful to me the whole time. But literally, I don't fight unless there's something to be fought about. And I think our grandchildren, most of the people in here seem to be within 20 years my age, above or below. So it's our children or our grandchildren we're talking about education. Now, we know for a fact that Oklahoma City and Tulsa, those two drag the whole state down. We'd be like 19th or 20th in the nation if we didn't have those two. And then you look a little deeper into it. We had a gentleman talk last meeting I was here, talked about reading scores and math scores. Okay, so if we know for a fact there are 6 schools in the state of Oklahoma, 6, that have terrible reading and math scores, where is SEAL Team 6 of reading? Why do we not have a bus, equipped with the best reading equipment that could possibly be, and 100 of the best reading teachers that exist that then make $100,000 a year to go school to school to school to solve the one problem that we collectively are going to pay for the rest of our lives if we let that kid get out of 4th grade without being able to read. Prison pipeline, absolute prison pipeline if you can't read. With computers now, you have to be able to read. You can't order at McDonald's without reading. Why are all of our resources not going into that level of reading? Somebody's got to give me an actual answer. Instead, we got private prisons that are eventually going to get the kids. Oklahoma County Jail is now a private prison. It's not run by the county anymore. They want to stay full. They want occupancy rates. And I'm not saying they do that. We're doing it by not jumping in and going, we're the best reading teachers in the world. And why are they not at these 6 schools dragging everything down? How have we not seen from a business standpoint that it isn't about, most rural schools do pretty well because it's all locals. Everybody knows each other. Inner city schools, you got to take what you get. And generally, you got other issues happening, and that's a whole different ballgame. You still got to be able to read. Basic mathematics. Reading and basic mathematics you can get through life. So my biggest argument here is not about whether bathrooms are working or anything else. I'm like, let's go to the basic problem there is, which is reading. Once that is solved, it's over. Here's what I'll tell you for a fact. 2 parents, college-educated mother, your kids don't have any problems in school. They don't. They're going to be just fine. 1 parent, everything starts slipping a little bit. And it isn't their, you just go, you can't say it's their fault, but there's just a time issue there. If they're working and everything else, it's not going to change. So we as a society, I would like to eventually retire, and I'm not going to be able to retire until most of these folks can work. And if they can't read, they can't work anymore. This is it's not a shovel society anymore where you can go get a job and make $17 an hour doing union labor work. That stuff just doesn't exist anymore. You got to be able to run the equipment. It has computers on it. So my concern is not whether policy is good or policy is bad. It's how have we not dealt with this simple issue ever? Everyone's guilty. This isn't whether I hate Ryan Walters or anybody else. He was the guy that was going to come in and change everything. So I had high hopes. Maybe this is the SEAL Team 6 of reading guy. But most of us in this room haven't been in school in 40 years. We don't even know what it's like. We think we know. We think we know. We don't know. If we could get businesses and everybody else to go to these 6 schools and read to the kids, just read. You got to see where it takes you. You see people that look different than you and everything else. That's what we really need is an all hands on deck. Not to save this bottom one, to save ourselves from allowing this group of people that don't know how to do it to try to survive without it. And then we get mad at their behavior because of the things they do to survive. It's a solvable problem. That's my big frustration. I want on the dot, let's get some stuff done. When I was listening to the guy last meeting, he isn't wrong. Nobody would agree that everything's going well in the cities. But one thing that I would say is 52% of the kids in Oklahoma County, Tulsa County are Hispanic. We got a language barrier there to start with, then we go to reading, then we go to everything else. And my father's an Irish immigrant, just so you know, 1st generation American. Guy had a 3rd grade education. So my mom took care of all of our stuff because she was a degreed teacher. Her sisters were degreed teachers. Her brother ran a private Catholic school. This isn't even about private schools versus public schools. What we're going to do now is give away more money to private schools, which is, God, I sure would have appreciated, so would my wife. We'd have a way better house and I'd have a way nicer car. I don't think it's your job to send my kids to Catholic school. I just don't. I'm sorry. That's an opinion. That isn't a fact. That's just an opinion. All hands on deck with the kids that are in public schools. We promised that in the Oklahoma Constitution. We promised them an education. So how about we fulfill our promise and we put pressure on the people that are in charge to fulfill our promise with us? So that's my speech. How'd that work? Yes, sir.
So, given what I know, and I followed you a little bit,
Yep.
Would you mind standing so we're?
Yeah, did you support Joy?
I didn't give her any money. I preferred her to win, but statewide politics is not generally my thing. I'm vice mayor of the village, so local city council stuff is what I know the most about. I thought of the two candidates, she was probably the better choice, yeah.
Okay, so Joy is the one who ended up putting forced boys into my daughter's bathroom. Now you can say that you care about children and you want to teach them to read.
Yep.
As soon as you support the one that forced boys into my daughter's bathroom, then you've lost credibility. And all of what it says is a bunch of nothing.
Okay. What I would say on that is, no, I'm not okay with a boy being in a girl's bathroom.
But why do you support Joy? I judge a man by his action.
Yeah, so I can tell you 5 things that I wouldn't support with Stitt, and there's probably 4 or 5 that I wouldn't with Joy. The transgender people are less than 1% of our population, and they're getting 20% of our airtime. Now, that math doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's weird. That's why it interests all of us. It's weird. None of us understand it. None of us know why they are or anything else. I don't understand it, but it's 1% of the population. Are we really going to spend 20% of our time on 1% of the population? I'm not saying you're wrong. Hey, man, look, in Europe, the bathrooms go floor to ceiling. The problem solved. They're individual stalls. It isn't like there aren't solutions available. For that 1%, I mean, how far are we going to go? How much are we going to spend? Floor to ceiling bathrooms. It's you know what I mean? Stalls. Does everybody know what I mean by that? Yeah. You go in there, there's a toilet in there, and the sinks and stuff right on the other side. The entire problem is solved. Yes, sir.
So I spent most of my law enforcement career as Oklahoma County deputy. I verified that what you're saying about Oklahoma County jail is horrible. I promise you it's bad. But at the same time, we're talking about the schools. It's not that cut and dry. Yeah, we need them to learn. But over 1,900 violent crimes happened in Oklahoma City Public Schools just last year.
Yeah.
Okay? It is very hard for any teacher or any person that's in charge to take control of these students when we're being fought left and right about having security in schools or making sure that safety is there. We need to do the security and the safety of the kids first so that we can teach them. Because if we don't do that, then they don't have a learning environment anymore. That has to come first.
It is a wild, wild west show in some schools. Okay?
The majority of Oklahoma City public schools, yes.
So are we going to include the outskirts schools? Because really, I mean, so if we have a jar full of 100 pennies between Edmond, Moore, Yukon, all these other places where people moved to because the schools were good, what did that leave us with? Seriously, what's left in the jar? The problem kids? The problem parents?
Let me tell you where it left.
Yeah.
Norman High School.
Which one?
Norman High School.
Norman?
48% of the kids are proficient in reading.
What was that?
Norman High School, 48% of the kids proficient in reading.
32% are proficient in math. Moore High School, 45% proficient in English, 34% proficient in math. Yukon High School, 41% proficient in English, 30% proficient in math. Mustang High School, 40% in English, 45% in math. Putnam City, 27% in English, 16% in math. Edmond High School, supposedly one of the best in the state, 72%, not bad. But we ranked 20th, 19th, 49th in the nation academically. So they're one of the best of the worst. Mid-Dell, where I went to high school, Dell City High School, 18% proficient in English and 9% in math. That's more than 6 schools.
I went off the
And
ones
by
that
the
you
way,
talked about.
by the way, I have looked at almost every school district in this state, and it's not just 6.
I was going off the ones that you talked about in the last meeting. You specifically talked about 6 schools. Am I wrong? You had a chart around your neck.
Let's
There you
talk
go.
about Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Capitol Hill, 5% proficient in English, 2% in math,
Which school was that?
Capitol Hill.
Capitol Hill.
Entire
Class
state.
in high school for advanced studies, which that's the best students in the area, 84% and 59% in math. What about those other, 16%, 26% in the very best high school in the state that won a blue ribbon? That's the best. Now, Douglas High School, 8% proficient in English, 1% in math. Emerson, John Marshall, 7%, 3%. Northeast High School, 10%, 0%. Northwest Classen, 11%, 7%. Oklahoma Centennial, 2%, 0. Southeast High School, 23%, 17%. Spencer, 5%, 0%. U.S. Grant, 9%, 7%.
So you got 9 there. You almost talked about 7 last time.
Let's just look at Tulsa. Booker T. Washington, one of the best schools in Tulsa, if you want to call the best. 62% English, 47% math. Central High School, 3%, 2%. Daniel Webster, 11%, 7%. East Central, 7%, 5%. McLean, 2%, 1%. Memorial High School, 16 and 12. Nathan Hale, 6 and 1. Thomas Edison, 48-30. Trace, 9 and 2. Tulsa Met High School, 5%, 5%. Will Rogers High School, 14, 5%.
Okay.
Now, that's more than 6, isn't it?
Okay, so you're taking it out of context. I said at the last meeting, this is what you talked about. I sat over there and counted.
Well, we're talking about schools, though.
That's fine. I said what you counted, what you had said. That's how many I counted. Hey, if I'm off by 1 or 2, that's okay, but all the other ones you added off that second sheet. So let's talk about the exact same thing. I'm not excusing any school that's out. Look, the people that were interested in education moved to the suburbs. That's why the numbers are skewed.
No, they're not.
Yes, it
The
is.
suburbs is Oklahoma City.
They're not. You named them off first. They're not. That is just not true.
Those are suburbs.
You named off Yukon, Moore, et cetera. They were all higher. They were all higher. All of those people moved there to put their kids in schools. That's why they moved there. It's white flight. We all know what the term is. So what is your argument with me? What's your actual question?
Why do you not support getting kids an education?
So I have 5 kids. Every one of them has a degree. I have 2 that have double degrees, masters. So I don't know where your question is coming from.
Academics, and they've said, light. You know how long this has been going on?
And I blamed everybody. I believe I said that. Everybody's guilty. Did I not say that? Did I say anybody was innocent?
So everybody's guilty, that means nobody's guilty.
You're making really weird debate comments. Do you have a question for me? I'm not here to debate you because you and I agree on basically the same things. It's how to get there is probably what we don't agree on.
How would you get there?
I would eat the first thing that I would do, reading, number 1. We're not going to see anything from it for 10 years, maybe even 15 years, and then we don't have those people in prison. And we're not taking care of them the rest of their life. You got to take bites out of this thing. It hasn't been ignored. Everybody moved away and left the people behind. Let's be honest. If we're gonna have a real conversation, you got to be honest. If you were educated parents and you saw that schools were getting mixed and kids were coming in that you didn't think were healthy for your kids, we moved to the suburbs. That's what we did. That's just a fact. I'm still arguing with him. I'll be with you in a second.
He's next.
Oh, sorry, man. All right. Well, go ahead, because he and I are not going to get anywhere because we want the same thing. We just don't agree how to get there. Go ahead.
Okay, I think you made a statement that it's not your responsibility as a taxpayer to pay for children to go to some Catholic school.
Correct.
And then my question is, why should I, as a taxpayer, pay money for children to go to failing schools?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's a logical argument. So either way in our Constitution, we guarantee them an education, whether good, bad, or failing. So we have to do that because of that. But I agree with you. Once again, I would say the same thing with him. We are 100% agreeing that we have a bunch of failing schools. How do you get them to stop failing?
Grade cards don't matter. We already know they suck, right? We already know. We don't need a grade card.
So isn't it really the core of the problem is the school boards and the people they hire that create the systems by which children are educated and what they're taught?
Yes, but I'm looking, if we're going to solve the problem, where do we start? And that's going to be with reading. That is the number one single issue. You get caught up in all the other issues, the reading never is going to get taken care of. And if we want people to be tax-paying citizens, reading's number one. Yeah, reading's number one. Tax-paying citizens is what I'm looking for. Not in prison. We're not paying for them the rest of their life for room and board. Tax-paying citizens. Okay. Weren't you back? Who was next? Oh, sorry, but yeah.
I was just going to make a comment on people moving out of the big areas.
Yep.
We used to live in Ponca 25 years ago and went to Tonopah intentionally for exactly what you're talking about. But that's all happened long enough in these big areas that the suburbs, like he's talking about, are dropping. They may still be higher right now, but they're all going to be in the same boat they started in. Maybe not the same families because those kids are grown and gone. But it's all heading downhill for them that did that initially 25 years ago.
So it's time to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Moving away saves one generation, right? One generation. You get to get your kids in the neighborhood, all the other parents are educated, everybody finds education important. Then what? So the kids of the kids from the inner city have kids, you have kids, problem's
The
back.
inner city will probably always be at the bottom, but the others will catch up eventually.
I don't think most people would argue with that. I think that's pretty much a fact. So the question is if the educated parents and the parents that care about education left, who's behind? Honestly, who's behind? People that they're finding the best school they can for their kids. They're trying to do a charter. They do lottery systems. They do everything. A lot of immigrants, for one, in Guatemala, third grade education is probably enough to run a farm. It doesn't do you any good here. You can't go to a parent-teacher conference. My wife started doing a deal, and I don't think it was Capitol Hill, it was one of the other South Side schools, where she brought spaghetti for $500, and the families were able to bring their kids to the parent-teacher conference, have an English-speaking kid translate, so they could be a little more involved with their kids. We can complain about the complexities of this, or we can deal with the reality that this is where we are. How do we make productive citizens out of that at the same time as guaranteeing the education that our Constitution guarantees?
I've got a question.
Sir?
Actually, this is from Don Spencer, our president. He
Okay.
couldn't make a day. His wife is under the weather. We're talking about kids reading. Should they be reading books like Gender Queer?
No. Everybody can agree with that.
You agree that that shouldn't be in the library?
Everybody can agree to that.
Okay.
That is I have no idea, for one, how that would ever get there. Porn in libraries, everything. If there was porn in libraries, all the 15-year-old boys would be in there and we'd all know it. So that's just not true. But the other stuff is probably there. You're right. I mean, hey, you can learn how to grow weed at the regular public library and how to make everything with it.
And another question from
Yes.
Don. What's your position on the Second Amendment, Sean?
Oh, I mean, the only thing I'm uncomfortable with is it's not people doing open carry or anything else. 'Cause I own an Irish pub. I don't know if most of you know that. It's a lot of former FBI, former cops. I get concerned with people that do the bravado thing with gear on, but they usually don't have arms on them. They usually just have the gear. They're trying to intimidate people. I just think that sucks.
But
that's not a position.
Okay.
I mean, I have no issues. I am from Ireland. We were under the thumb of England for about 1,500 years. They were allowed to have guns. We were not. We had to beat them out of there with sticks and pitchforks. I'm fine with guns.
So you support the Second Amendment then?
All the way.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why do you have no gun signs at your Irish pub?
Because I got cops all inside. I don't want somebody open carrying in an Irish pub.
Yeah.
I have a legal right in my business.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not contesting that.
Yeah.
That's
But that's
illegal.
not against the Second Amendment.
And because of the OK2A, if you carry a gun into a posted private business, you can't be arrested unless you refuse to leave when the owner asks you to because you have a gun.
If you
And
walk in here-
OK2A, before OK2A got involved, you could get arrested for carrying a gun into a private business that was posted. So I just got to brag on OK2A here.
You will get, if you walk in with a sidearm on, you will get a look like this, and everyone will face you. And that is not that they're afraid of your gun.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Give me. I'll get you after this one. Okay. Where are we at? We're okay on time. Yes.
Besides the little one over there, I think I'm the only person in this room that's been in school in the last 10 years. I know, just from my point of view, when I went to college is when I learned everything. I mean, I learned how to proficiently read, proficiently write, do math. I went to school for 12 years and never learned anything. I probably had a 4th grade reading level and probably couldn't do math past division and multiplication. So my biggest thing is, and I kind of agree with him, the U.S. Law Show guy that was here, I think the first step really is the kids. I couldn't learn because I was constantly being bullied, harassed, beaten up. How can you learn when you're in a pretty much a terroristic environment? You're in fight or flight mode all the time. And I think that's the biggest thing is like people look down a lot about teachers carrying firearms or policemen being in schools. I think the first step really, besides the reading and the math, it's great. But if kids don't feel safe, they have a language barrier, they're being bullied and beaten up, they can't learn.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Enid. So Enid, I feel like Enid is a big city with nothing around it. I mean, it's an hour and a half from Oklahoma City and 2.5 hours from Tulsa. So it's a huge town, but you know, they have decent teachers, but like, you know, the class sizes are 50 kids in a class. The high school's graduation is 2,000 kids. So it's I think the last one was like 1,700. So yeah.
So who all here remembers H. Ross Perot?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I love that guy. His deal on schools was the only reason you have a school with 6,000 students is you're trying to win district.
I've had lunch with him.
Smaller schools? Oh, you did?
Several times. Johnny's Barbecue at Exchange Park in Dallas, Texas,
Yeah.
before he became a national figure. He's an interesting man.
Smart guy, quirky, you know.
And he's the reason we had Bill Clinton for 8 years.
That is true. But I did like his spiel. He was pretty direct and to the point. Was he right every time? No. Nobody is. You want to get caught up in one thing, I'll give you a list of 100 reasons you can hate me, but generally trying to get things done is not one of them. Sir?
Hey, before I ask my question, I just want to make sure that I was tracking with you in the beginning, because I kind of agree. It's like we have one common goal. We have different ways to get there. Your biggest gripe, for lack of better terms, is taking money out of the public education system, letting people use it for private school, correct? Right? Where does that money come from?
Well, that's all of our money.
Okay, so why should the government, who says that does the Constitution say we have to provide a private or public?
Says it has to be public and it cannot be, let me give you the exact term.
Okay.
It means religious or affiliated with any political deal. Give me a second here.
Sectarian.
Okay.
Sectarian, thank you, that's the word.
Yeah, okay, so what I'm getting at though is my wife, her and I have had this conversation, I don't know how many times. She's been in public education, she's in private education. She will tell you that the kids are educated better in the private sector, number one, because the parents are more invested in that child because they're making an investment. They're using their money. I don't think that the state should tell me how I should spend my money. And if they're taking it from me, I should have a choice or voice in how that money is spent. I think the one thing you're going to find out when you start taking money from and letting people take tax credits to take their kids to private schools, you're going to find that public schools are going to step up their game because they're going to see people bleeding out of their school districts and they're going to say, hey, we need to fix things and make things right. So they're going to up their game because they're not going to want to lose that. So I think by doing that, it may fix itself in that public arena as long as you have the right people in there and the right leadership to say we need to fix it right.
Okay. So competition would make for better schools.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So in other states that have done either vouchers or the tax give back, 80% of the people that got that money already had their kids in private schools. There's a really tiny amount of private schools here. It's 40,000 seats, and the Catholic Church controls most of it. If you've tried to get your kids into a charter school, it's really hard. Try to get them into Cassidy, an elite Episcopal school. You got to have references. You got to have literally a bunch of documentation. They're not there to take the general population. So let me go through this for you. So we would say that ordinarily competition would make people increase. So if we've given people students that are never going to achieve above fourth grade, and we give them competition, like we're going to fire you if they don't do better, haven't we set them up for failure already? Instead of going in at the base of the problem, starting to fix the problem. The money's coming. The money's coming out.
Your classroom levels are going to go down a little bit. It's going to allow that teacher to invest more time. I'm telling you, when my wife taught in private school, her classroom levels, she was able to give more time to that child. Right. In the public school, she had 30 plus kids stretched across 7 periods.
Right.
They can't invest in that many kids at one time.
Right. So I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying there aren't enough seats in private schools for new people to go to. They don't exist.
Oh, I think they create them. They would create them.
Bishop McGinnis is adding on a new wing. We already got a fundraising letter for it. When they know for a fact they're going to get all that money. Here's a couple of other things that concern me with that. Inevitably, somebody's going to start a loan scheme because I have to enroll my kids in August. I don't get my check until after my taxes are filed, and I don't have enough to cover that, and the state gives me a rebate check in May. So the school is going to loan you $500 to $7,500 at whatever interest rate they choose, because we do not follow usury laws here. And then to get your kid into that school, you're going to take that loan. And then so your $7,500 stipend now goes down to $5,500. You got to come up with another $2,000. If you are not used to paying for private school, nothing is free. Lunches aren't free. Football's not free. Reading after school is not free. You pay for every single thing. And you got to understand that we're putting people, and it's good, 20% of them are going to be new. You ever been the poorest kid in a rich school? Because I have. It sucks. It sucks being the poorest kid in a rich school. But yes, the education is better because the parents went out of their way to choose it and pay for it. Now, when the money comes from the state, are the parents paying for it?
Yeah, we are.
Exactly.
We are the parents of the kids going to that school paying for it. No, they're getting a check at the end of the year. Yes, she's been waiting about an hour.
Hello.
I don't want to run him over. Yes.
You had made the statement about, that the parents were educated and that children were learning how to read. My mother dropped out of school when she was 16 years old. Another neighbor didn't finish school either. My sister was reading at 4 years old before she went to school. The neighbor was reading at 4 years old. They taught them how to read, no education at all. And then when she went there, she got in trouble because she was writing notes. This is boring.
What's your question?
You say that what is the problem why the kids can read? Is it the teachers or is it the system? Because if an uneducated person like my mother can teach her daughter how to read.
Yeah. My dad, third grade education, produced 7 college grads. So I'm not saying it can't happen.
You're talking about a reading problem. Were they reading at 4 years old?
Well, my mom was a teacher, so yeah, we were all.
My mother wasn't a teacher.
I know. There's an exception to every rule. I'm not saying every single person.
Everybody, most of the time.
Girls learn quicker than boys. Were they girls or boys?
They were girls and boys.
Okay.
Next question.
That's awesome. I mean, that's rare. It is. It's.
Not what kind of.
I worked in the public schools, and I remember back in maybe 80s, the teachers all protested, went down to Oklahoma City, and class size was the big problem. They cut the class sizes, but then they took that all away, and the teachers are still saying our classes are too big. They need to cut the class sizes. Is that?
So, I don't know why some schools have 40 people in a class, and I don't know why some have 15. I'll give you a weird story here. So I go to this prep school, and I go in the Spanish class, and there's only 6 people there, and the priest is from Mexico. I was fluent by the end of the year because I couldn't mess around in the back of the class. I couldn't do other stuff. I couldn't hide out, couldn't flirt with any girls. There were just 6 of us, and we were stuck there. And he told me, he goes, man, you got a gift for this. I'm going to be a little harder on you than I was everybody else. I just want you to know that. And he was. But if you got a class of 6, you can get through to a kid. You can give them the attention they need and everything else. 40, my mom had 40. She's a 2nd grade teacher. Imagine herding those cats in a room with 40 kids. And she'd still come home in a good mood. You know,
But nobody's ever talking about class size. That's one of the things they did at one time and then did away with.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer for you there. I mean, that's something to address. I think maybe everybody's looking at violence in the schools and everything else, and you're just losing the simple thing of how do you control a class size. There aren't any teachers. We're 3,000 teachers short. Here's a weird story for you, and I promise I'll get to you. So at my restaurant, I've got a girl with a high school diploma that's going to be a substitute teacher. I've got another lady that's got a 1.5 years of college, is going to do a 6-month program, and she's going to be a teacher. She's been working as a special ed. We are taking whoever will come. We did this damage to the teachers by attacking them forever. And you go down I-35, Texas is offering over $50,000 a year. I mean, to start. And you don't pay sales tax there.
Next question, Chair.
Yes, sir. Yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I was a superintendent secretary for 21 years.
Nice.
And I have 2 granddaughters that are school teachers. I see them being lax coming out of college. They just don't see the importance of reading the math. And it has to be, it's a simple thing. Reading math's simple. But they need to come out of college with that in their minds. I'm teaching reading, I'm teaching math. And that's going to be their main thing. They get their minds off on too many things. And the schools, school boards, let them do that. OEA, NEA has all this other stuff. I've always opposed the unions. Because they put too much stuff in people's heads, the teachers. So it breaks my heart that my 2 granddaughters can't just teach plain reading or plain math.
Yeah, I'm not the one to argue with you there.
But college needs to be.
So education departments at the universities are a big problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that. They're also being spoken to by everybody that's working, going, yeah, why are you doing this? I talked to my kids out of being teachers. They said, don't respect them anymore. Don't waste your time. Go into a profession that people will respect what you do. So one other thing, because we're closing up here. So I'm in Notre Dame. I ran a half marathon that went into Notre Dame Stadium. And really pretty neat. And we're waiting to get on the plane, and some lady came over to talk to my niece that ran it with me, and she just lost a baby a few months before. And said, well, what are you doing here? And she tells her the story, and the lady goes, well, what are you going to do with yourself? And my niece goes, well, I just don't, I'm lost right now. I'm trying to find my way. And give me a second. The lady said, why don't you be a teacher? And she goes, everybody's just lost respect for him. And she said, well, I'll tell you what actually happened. She goes, I'm an executive for IBM. And she goes, in my mother's time, women had 2 professions. They could be 3, nurses, teachers, and I'm trying to remember what the other one was. Secretary. Right, those were the 3. So the best of the best were hired in these 3 professions, so they were all dynamite. Guess what? They can go to the working world and make a heck of a lot more money, own their own companies. My wife, no glass ceiling for her. She owns her own company. She's her glass ceiling. We've also got to admit that this is where we are. We had the best of the best doing this for a long time, and that's why we all remember schools being so good. Well, because those were one of the 3 choices the ladies had. So we got the smartest ones doing that.
Sean,
yes.
Do you have to leave?
No. I can hang out.
Mind, we've got a lot of questions.
I don't mind the least bit.
Okay, great.
Hope I haven't been out of line yet.
This is Honey John Lucas, makes the best local honey. His bees make it. He sells
Bees do it.
Bees do the work.
I don't know the first thing about making
Helicopter pilot in Vietnam.
Sweet.
Wow. Hero.
We
This comes directly from the superintendent's office at Tonkwall High School. The low test scores are due to the fact that we have poor teachers in our schools. And I said, why don't you replace them? We can't replace them. We can't hire nobody because nobody will come to work for us at the wages we have.
In Tonkawa, because they're going to move from somewhere else.
But throwing money at it is not the answer. We have all kinds of women facilitating in schools now. I mean, full-time substitute teachers. Every day they substitute teach. And of course, they're not educated.
Well, they're not educating either.
And I don't really know the answer to the problem, but I know that throwing money at it and just giving them raises is not enough. But I think that, like Marilyn said, you need to go back to the colleges and the requirements to become a teacher. We need to get some more qualified teachers.
Okay. So let me say a couple of things here. Nobody has heard me say throw money at it, have you?
No.
I said SEAL Team 6 for reading. I didn't say it for anything else. I didn't say throw money at it. I would agree with you on a bunch of that, but we also are so desperate for teachers. We've just hired anybody who had a degree the last couple of years, and there is a skill in teaching. It takes 5 years to become a master teacher. Why are all of ours quitting at 2 years? They're not even any good still. They're still doing their lesson plans. You know, they don't even have those set out for the previous year. They don't have their stuff in boxes to go in for the holidays. I mean, 2 years is when they're walking away.
They're tired of the kids not being disciplined.
I would agree with you there. I would agree with you there.
I lived in New Mexico for many years. It's a state statute there. It's illegal for a third grade teacher to hold a student back because they're illiterate. They have to, under state statute, they have to send them to the fourth grade. And it's their reasoning is it'll hurt their self-image. So being 19 years old and looking for a job, not being able to read is not. It's insane what's going on.
So they offer $55,000 a year and they pay back your college loans, just so you know that's who's getting our students.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is sad. That is sad.
Now, the way I see it, and a lot of my people see it, that most of these problems are coming from the woke left. And that's where, as everybody, I think, has seen, we've all got the same goals. Right. We've just got different paths to get to those. Yeah. But this is our master tailor in Tonkawa, Oklahoma.
And by the way, I do know most of the woke left by name in Oklahoma City. I do. They're not in charge of anything. They couldn't run a bathroom. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the introduction. Anyway, my name is Jasmine Williams. I'm married to this man. You said that you disagree about the voucher.
About vouchers?
Voucher.
The tax rebate, I think is what they're calling it here.
Yeah, I understand that part. The other man said that, I guess he left. So what it is I agree with you and I agree to that guy that public, but kids that are school in a private school learn more in a small. I have children that are in a. I was poor. I was married to an enlisted military man. Raised the kids, send them to a Catholic school, and they are workaholic taxpayer here in America. So really the root of the problem is our school board, the secretary of education, whoever they put in those positions. And also part are the parents. Believe me.
They are our kids 16 hours a day. They're only at school 8 hours, so we got to take 2/3 responsibility.
My question is, why does our government pick a good person? Like, who's the Secretary of Education now?
Ryan Walter.
See?
Yep.
What does he do?
I'm not the guy to ask.
Well, that's true. I should not be asking you that, but the root of the problem is there.
Okay, so let me.
And he's only been in office for a few months, and he's trying to change things.
For a person who said things on the campaign trail, this guy has done more stuff than he said he would do than any other politician I've ever seen. That's my one compliment. Do I agree with any of it? No. So let me give you a couple of examples. So I went through Catholic school. I got thrown out of 4 high schools. So I went from all the way from the most elite private school you could go to a school that was an inner city school. That my first day in school, I was a little nervous, and you open the door and there's thousands of people and it smells like BO, cigarettes, and soup. I mean, it was just, so I was like, God, I got to get a hold of myself. I'm going to the bathroom. You go into the bathroom, people were smoking weed, drinking, smoking. This is 45 years ago. This isn't new. So I go, I'll go into one of the stalls. No, there were no doors on any stalls. There weren't even seats. This was the top public school in America 10 years before. So everything changes all the time. So what are the few guarantees we can give anybody? Catholic school is great if the priests were not molesting us. Now that goes back to Ireland as well. They run all of the schools in Ireland. My grandmother went to the bishop and said, we've got this priest that's inappropriately touching the children. And the priest said, well, if you want to keep your job at the church, at the school, and your kid's in the school, you'll be quiet about it. What's that threat to somebody's mom? There's no other school to go to. You all think if there are problems in schools now, wait till you're dealing with Georgetown or Notre Dame's law department rather than being able to go in and get somebody fired. Everything has an up and a bad. Everything does. Do what?
It's the same thing in a public school. Whether it's
Now the lawyers will be much better than government lawyers. Much better. I was up against them. I hate to break this to you. I was up against them. They're better than public school lawyers.
whether public or private or
Yep.
Catholic, the root of the problem is whoever is in charge.
Okay, so we don't have to have accredited teachers. You do all know that, right? Law passed, we don't have to have accredited teachers. So anybody that has a room or a church or anything else can open a school. You can go online. The lady that is now the Secretary of Education sells a packet to show you how to open a school for $1,500. That's what we're going to get. We're going to get more of that than you think. Look, I don't blame anybody wanting to keep their schools local. I don't blame it. But let's not act like one is better until we really look down and see where the mold is. We don't. Yes, sorry.
Talking about reading and arithmetic and
Yes,
just getting to your basics. Okay. Back when I graduated, 81.
Same with me.
Everybody could, if you wanted to learn, you learned. I mean, that's what they were teaching. Then my son graduated, I can't remember exactly what year, but then she graduated later. But he couldn't read that much, 5th grade level maybe. Taught him after he got out of high school. And then she was doing that. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm going to. Anyway, my question is, what the government's stepping in, government's too big in the schools to me because it's not being taught properly. The mathematics, the reading, all the other stuff. It's about equality, and it's about it's about the bathrooms and all those other things. Okay, my question is, how come they do not scrap all that stuff and just go back to the regular basics?
So, is it every child counts? Is that what, when, I'm trying to think of what the law was that came in. It was a presidential deal. Do what? Yeah. No child left behind. Okay. My cousin was a big proponent of it. Her daughter had Down syndrome. And so her daughter now is in a classroom with regular students. She does not study as fast. She doesn't move as fast. And because she was my cousin, I never said anything. But I thought it was unfair to the other kids.
Kind of like a participation trophy.
Least common denominator. I mean, but that's how that teacher is now being judged.
Exactly.
And so how much time do you have to give to the kid that can't keep up? And you're just going, well, these other 20 are going to be okay.
Well, isn't that the main problem?
I would agree with you. I mean, I don't think we have very many differences in opinion here. It's how do we solve it?
Yeah,
Next question.
Yes,
I think we do have differences of opinion, but you will not come clean on them. You brushed over, there's not porn in the schools. Sir, that's a bold-faced lie. And that's what I'm saying. So
It's on these.
I found it.
Any of those
Of
kids.
course, that's no argument to put it in the schools. I have found it personally. It's still in Stillwater and every other school. And I can sit here and read you excerpts of 20 different books. And none of you guys just say, yeah, it's not there, or yeah, it's
I don't
no
know
big
who
deal.
you
Or
guys
call-
are, but I'm
or
not
call
you
it-
guys.
Or call us book banners. So when you say we just have to read, well, you want them to read SEL, or you don't care about porn. I mean, via your omission of
That's
even
not-
acknowledging.
Nothing you said was true. That's
It's
just not
in
true.
there, and you won't acknowledge it. You just brush
No.
by it.
So if you want to have a political argument, I'm great at this. So are you sure you want to do this, or do we want to talk about solutions? Which do you all want to do? Because I'm here to talk about solutions. You can hit me up on the internet. We can talk about it all the time.
Okay, and
We go
folks,
back and forth. I don't care. I can do it till the cows come home. I am excellent at it.
when you get the microphone, please get right to your question. We've got a lot of people wanting to ask questions, so we don't need to know why you're asking the question. Please just get to your question, because it's not going to be fair to the other people if you get into a long exposition here. Okay, you're up next.
Thanks. 2 quick questions.
Yes.
Do you support teachers' unions? And second of all, what is specifically your solution? And don't tell me improve reading.
Okay, but I gave you the bus idea and the 100 best reading teachers. I mean, I did give you a solution. I said the SEAL Team 6 in reading.
Yeah, but where's the
But
funding?
there's 500 schools.
There's enough money. We were able to give 150 million to private churches. And I mean, were we? So there's money.
But there's
If
500
the money's going to be spent, it depends on where it's going to be spent. The money's going to be spent.
It's not 6 schools, it's not 100 teachers. This girl back here came from Enid. I live out in Blackwell, and our scores are as bad as the ones everybody else is talking about. It isn't only the cities. It's rural, it's the entire state, and you need more than 100 teachers. I don't disagree that we need to focus, but it isn't hiring 100 teachers, it's getting rid of this teachers union.
Okay, let's go one at a time here. So you got to start somewhere. I've owned a lot of companies. You start too big, you're not going to get anywhere. 100's manageable. That's 2 buses. Go place to place to place. Okay, so that is able to be started. We can see whether it works or not, right? And if it doesn't work, cut it.
Do you suggest volunteer workers like
Yeah,
Marilyn?
and there's a whole.
I'll be there at the microphone. Just a
So
minute,
let me
One
cover
at a
the.
time on questions,
Okay,
folks, please.
okay. Let me cover the union one. My mom was in the union. It was good for her. We have 2 different unions in Oklahoma. They have no power. They would have done something this year. They're pointless. They literally. So there's a hollowed out bill that says that they can't take union dues out of the state employees' paychecks that they've held over their head this whole year. So they've done nothing. They stayed completely silent. None of you have heard a word from a state union here. They don't matter. That's not the issue.
Hello, I'm Josiah McBlair. With truancy public schools or prisons, how would you make public schools less like prisons?
Okay, wow. So I'd go back to H. Ross Perot. They all need to be smaller. Smaller works. We've got to figure out if we're going to spend this much money, let's invest it in something that works. You know, smaller classes work. And I will tell you, in areas where the kids got a little more, it's a crazier place to live and all these other things happening, they need a teacher that's kinder and nicer. You know, you get out to other areas that you probably don't need that as much, but you got to have somebody that's involved. And my mom, 2nd grade teacher, inner city, kids' parents wouldn't pick them up. She'd bring them back to our house. You can't do any of that anymore. We'd have a couple of kids living with us all the time. By the time we got to know them, finally the parents would show up, take them back home. But you can't do that anymore. Now, what I would like to see is way smaller schools. Everybody says it's cost effective to do these big ones. H. Ross Perot is right. It's not cost effective. You want to win a district-wide championship or a state championship. That's why you do big schools. It's to get 11 bigger athletes.
Okay, Alfred, you're up next.
So, to get a direct answer, do you think what books Riley is talking about are in the schools or not?
He says there, I'm taking his word for it. I don't have a clue. I'm not a librarian. I just said, if you say they are, they are. I'm not questioning.
Question, second part, there's two parts to this. Do you think the NEA, the National Educators Association Union, controls more of what goes on in all the schools in the nation through the state school superintendents versus the school systems themselves?
I mean, don't you wish somebody was that good? I mean, if somebody was that good, wouldn't we be doing better?
They're more corrupt than DC as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they're
I don't know. I don't live in D.C. I know we got huge problems here in Oklahoma, and our unions suck. And we can argue about unions all day long, but they suck. They don't do anything. We're a fire at will state. I'm sorry? Yeah. I wouldn't argue that.
I'd like to read you something out of the Wall Street Journal, June 30th. It's entitled Rendering Weingarten and Radical Disparities in Education. This was a brief submitted to the United States Supreme Court in the case of affirmative action. The brief reads, the brief admits the colleges use racial preferences to increase the enrollment of minority students who are often less academically qualified because they've been trapped in rotten public schools. That's the union, that's the NEA saying that to the Supreme Court. Now, why is that? Because the unions fight educational choice for minorities and protect bad teachers in low-income schools from accountability.
Is there a question in there? Because I got an answer.
A single year with a grossly ineffective teacher can cost a classroom of kids $1.4 million in lifetime earnings. These inner city schools are staffed primarily by OEA. The teachers union is a big problem we have with our education system. And that's because they protect people who shouldn't be in the classroom. And they destroy kids' lives. Now, did you say that the inner city schools are bad because the whites have left? Because is that what you said initially?
I said the people that are concerned with education. If you go to Edmond is much more mixed than you would ever think. It really is. You go knocking doors in Edmond, that's a mixed city. But they all moved there for the schools.
So that means that because the whites have gone to the suburbs, that all we're left is inner city kids.
Hold on, stop. That is not what I said. You're not going to put words in my mouth.
He didn't specify color. He just said people.
People left, okay? But most of the inner city is minorities.
Education left.
Okay?
It is white. That's what it's called.
He did call it white flight, didn't he?
That's what it's called.
Okay. So all that's left in the inner city is minorities. In Oklahoma City, it's 72% minority. In Tulsa, it's 77% minority. So because you're in a minority in the inner city, you're just ignorant. You can't learn. Is that right?
Did I say that to anybody?
You're ignorant because you're minority and you can't learn. I was on the school board of KIPP for 7 years. Inner city school, 100% virtually black. They come in, they can't read 3 or 4 grade levels below. Within a year's time, within 1 year's time, 75% of the kids were proficient. By the time they're 8th grade, they're advanced. Tracy McDaniel, who ran the KIPP school in Oklahoma City, won a National Blue Ribbon in 2012 for academic achievement. So it's a bunch of crap that inner city kids can't learn.
Right.
Intelligence is spread across all races. It's not indigenous to any one race.
I did not say that, just to point that out. I did not say that. That's bullshit. That's bull. I did not say that. Okay, my aunt, principal of St. Martin de Porres, Catholic school, all black, outscored my all white school. I didn't say that. I went to school at her school.
You said white flight.
That is the term for everybody that moved to suburbs. That is literally the term.
Another question.
Hold on. KIPP is a charter school, by the way. You have to get in. They're not taking everybody. That is an absolute lie. It is not an even comparison.
Didn't say they took everybody.
I know, but you managed to omit that when you were saying that everybody could learn. because you took the best people. My aunt took the best people.
Same thing with every charter school, they can't take everybody.
That's all.
So
So who's left behind?
We have to concentrate on our public schools.
What are we going to do with the people left behind? We still have them as citizens. There's no such thing as them people over there anymore. Internet's brought us all together. We're all working together one way or another. We have to figure out something to do with the people that are left behind.
Two more questions
Yes.
from Don Spencer. Have you met Don?
I did. I met him here.
Oh,
I think I met him before that.
Oh, okay. First off, would you be would you be in favor of signs saying no open carry? In other words, allowing concealed carry, which when it's concealed, you don't know about it anyway, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
would you be?
In my place?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll run over it with the cops that come in there. And I'm going to use. I'm going to.
You'll at least think about it. Fair enough. Okay. And now
if it's
back.
concealed, I think they're already in there. I hate to break it to everybody.
That's why
they're
they
already
call it-
in there. 'Cause-
Yeah. And now back to education. We touched on that lightly. Would you support the firing of teachers that would not wear a mask, or did you support the firing of teachers that would not wear a mask and were protected by state law?
I didn't know any were actually fired because weren't we doing internet school?
Well,
I mean, I don't know if that's a valid question.
I'm an operations guy, not a policy guy.
I think
Okay.
it was the shot.
I don't-
Shot,
Public
mate.
schools were fired.
No, well, it says, quote, right from his text, did he, meaning you, support the firing of teachers that would not wear a mask and were protected by state law?
First I've heard of it, so I don't have a support or not.
Okay.
And look, man, COVID came and went. It sucked for everybody. We can make every
going by what he
call
wrote.
now that it's over. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. So I had a guy get a hold of me and he said the air conditioning units that they used for the COVID test, they put in a 50,000 square foot building, but the units were only this big. But they said they cleaned a 50,000 foot building because that's where they were. Take care. So I don't know what worked, it didn't work. I'm still alive, you're still alive, we're all still alive. Let's deal with the people left behind. Let's leave it. We gotta deal with the people left behind or we're gonna pay for it our whole lives. Yes, sir.
There were teachers fired for not having a shot. You familiar with that or not?
Nope, never heard of it.
There was 5 of them at a meeting I went to at a church in Edmond, and I didn't know if you was in favor of.
I don't think you can do a mandatory vaccine.
Okay.
That's pretty.
Okay.
It's pretty. There's a country in Europe they talk about that
You're
might have been the one that would do that.
You're against the mandatory vaccination no matter what your job is?
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Or do you think healthcare should automatic?
I know a lot of nurses and doctors didn't do it. So, dude, if you want to take the risk, take the risk. I don't care. I mean, it's your call, right? Now, do I have to pay your hospital bill? Is a different deal if you get it. Kind of like no insurance on a motorcycle. I got to still pay their hospital bill. Now, I got a say in it then, because I got money on the table. Yes.
Any other questions?
Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes.
She was going to school, when she was teaching.
Yep.
She got the first shot, and they said, you need to get a second shot, and she wouldn't do it, and they fired her.
Really?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't have fired you.
Well, no, I just say it did happen.
Yeah, I'm not arguing whether it happened or not. Just, dude, I've got 30 employees. I've got a city that I help run. I'm a busy person. So do I follow everything that comes across Twitter? God, no. Yes.
Yeah, I think I understand and disagree with your approach on fixing it. You know, the 100 and that.
That's okay.
I think that's not enough. It needs to be more aggressive. How do we fix the administrators?
Yeah.
How do we get them the hell out of their positions? Because they're the ones, you get some woke teacher who comes up with some crazy frickin' idea, and the administrators say, oh yeah, that's nice, we'll do that. And the next thing you know, you have those books in the schools. How do we get rid of the administrators?
Well,
and I don't mean Board of Education, because they're elected. I mean the ones below them.
I don't know how books like that end up in school. I really don't. You'd think somebody would have better judgment. It's not just woke people that are weirdos. There are weirdos, and weirdos in every segment of society. There are weirdos.
Yeah.
So saying a woke weirdo, what makes them weirder than a conservative weirdo? Because we all got them.
Well, because they're wrong and we're right.
That's right. That's right. Like, people love me fighting for them, but they don't like me fighting for somebody else.
Do you know Sean McDaniels, superintendent at OKC?
He knows my wife, is the best way to say that.
Okay.
We are familiar with one another.
Well, he fired 6 teachers for not wearing a mask. Don Spencer is curious as to why you don't know that.
How would I know that? I'm not a school expert. Here's what I did, right here. I'm the one that got rid of everybody on the jail trust but one. I'm the one that got the counts down to 1,450 people. School stuff's just extra. I just happen to have grown up in the business, so I know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people talk about it, don't know anything about it, never been in a classroom, never taught.
Well, there's plenty of that going around on both sides.
Exactly. So tell Don, whatever day that happened, I can tell you this much. I sat in front of Sean McDaniel and asked him a specific question about a school in the village that they had re-equipped for handicapped kids and regular kids to go to school together in the same families. And he just lied to me, straight up lied. So he didn't whether I like him or not or approve of his decisions. Hell, he just lied to me.
Is that it for questions, folks? We put him through the mail today.
Oh, I don't mind in the least bit. Yeah. Look, we all got to talk to each other, whether we agree or not. We got to talk.
Yeah.
Sitting in our own corner, blah, 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 on the internet, and everything didn't work, and it's not working.
Thank you.
Come up with a solution for our gun.
For
reading and that.
yeah,
Come up with a solution.
So we have to start some pilot programs and see which pilot programs. The problem is we go, it's too big, it's too big, so nothing happens. KIPP learning is dynamite, and I don't even question that in the least bit. You had a teacher in New York that used to do all of her reading and ABCs in a song, and it worked 10 times better. Why is everybody not doing that?
That was Houston.
Oh, I thought it was New. Sure, it's on 60 Minutes. Okay, Houston. Why is everybody not doing that? It worked. How does that? You can learn the song.
That's how I learned my ABCs, A, B, C, D, when I was a kid.
She was dynamite at it. I don't hate KIPP. KIPP's dynamite. Can they teach everything? No. They're not big enough. Yes, sir. Is Don sending me another note? Sean said McDaniel's a liar.
While he's typing, let me make a couple of announcements related to upcoming events. Riley, who just had to leave. No, you're fine. You're fine. Riley, who just had to leave. Riley Flack. Is that a great name for a guy causing trouble?
Yeah.
Flack.
I'm good with it.
Couldn't be better. Anyway, he is going to be my speaker at my next mini meeting at Mary's Grill in Tonkawa, August 8th. That's a Tuesday, as always. Every second Tuesday at Mary's Grill, 6 p.m. Every fourth Saturday here at 12 noon. And he's going to be my speaker at that program. So he's going to be able to discuss in detail what he's done in Stillwater and what he needs yet to do and how he's accomplished it. Have you seen his videos? I'll send you them.
I've met him here twice.
Okay, yeah, he was in front of the Stillwater School Board reading verbatim from Genderqueer.
And he has a right to be offended by it.
Yeah.
He has a right to be.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be there.
He's got 3, that was only one, he's got 3 little girls. So
Yeah, I think most woke people would agree.
Yeah, okay. Also, the next monthly program here for Saturday in August is the 26th. I've got Americans for Prosperity. They went to the border at Yuma and down in Texas a couple of weeks ago. They're going to have an in-depth, detailed report on what's going on at the border and why things are so screwed up. They, while they were down there, they had a 2-year-old girl show up on the border by herself, wearing nothing but a T-shirt with a phone number written in Sharpie on it that was her parents. The Coyotes, the parents had finally paid them off, so they released their 2-year-old daughter by herself. This is just a bit of what's going on down there. It's going to be a great program. I invite you to come up here. My meetings are always informative.
It's just a long drive.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I love being at both of these. I'm not adverse to conflict.
No kidding. September 23rd, I've got a Charlie Key is his name. He has written a book that's about 1.5 inches thick, and the subject of his talk is going to be the unanswered questions about the Murrah building bombing. And that That investigation is as smelly as the JFK assassination investigation. That will be in detail, and so that's in September here. Spread the word around, and let me see if Don's message has come through yet.
What's the author's name on that the Oklahoma City bombing?
His name is Charlie with an I-E, Key, K-E-Y. Yeah, and he's a real intelligent guy, and he's got thousands and thousands, maybe tens of thousands of hours of research in this. I got exposed to it myself years ago, talking to a retired sergeant from the Oklahoma City Police Department at the Sturgis motorcycle rally, and this guy testified at both the grand jury and the trials of McVeigh and Terry Allen, I think. Terry Nichols. Yeah. Anyway, so I guarantee you both of these are going to be interesting and fascinating. And let's see here. Oh, nope. I guess
no last question.
No last question. Sean, I appreciate you coming. Thank you. You handled yourself well in front of a crowd. I got to give you that.
Hey, look, the thing is, if all of us didn't care, we wouldn't be here. We all care. Now we just got to figure out how to do it.
Yes. Fantastic.
Thank you. I'm not running for office. I just want to point that
You're
out.
already in office.
Right, but I'm not running again.
I've heard you run for a number of offices.
If it's open and a Democrat can get in, I'm taking a crack. And that was, you only get to do that a couple of times. They're never available.
You know Pam Pollard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pam said that you're a pretty effective campaigner. I can believe it.
I can work a room.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Really and truly, I appreciate the hospitality. Have a good day. Thank you. I'm going to roll out of here. I'm going to get back to work.